to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another
Oladipo!
one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It is a new week. Happy Monday. Jim Coyle with you. Charlie Miller along for the ride as well. Charlie, how are you, sir? Your camera's not working, by the way.
Yes, I remember. I'm off camera on purpose. I'm driving. I'm sorry with that, Jim.
No, that's all right. All right. We just missed that beautiful face to go along with the voice.
I appreciate it, but I'm hoping everybody's doing well today.
How are you doing? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good, man. Weekend was good. It's different weekend. Basketball season has started, so this is kind of what it's like for me. When I start looking to get better at what I'm doing, and taking some time off, enjoying my family a little bit. So that's my weekend.
Well, yeah, that's you got to make hay when the sun shines, and that's for you. That is the summertime, and yeah, so you kind of got a reverse schedule. Indiana,
yeah, exactly.
Indiana had a Big Ten opener over the weekend with Nebraska, and like I expected, after watching them give North Carolina State all they wanted in a 4 overtime road loss, they battled Indiana. I mean, they battled. They made them work. They made Indiana work. At least, which is good. I mean, that's probably as the perfect opening Big Ten game. A team that's going to make you work. It's going to give you a challenge, but it's one that you don't have to struggle quite as far to come out successful. And that's exactly what happened.
No, you said it right. And I mean, I think the marquee players that I'm starting to see step up, made big plays when they needed. Xavier Johnson, again, great full court pressure defense, race with the great tip dunk. I think that was the turn of the game. Tamar played strong first half. I'm seeing a pattern with him. No big deal. He's a freshman. Really big burst first half. Second half kind of slows down a little bit scoring. I think he'll get better with that. I think it's the newness of it all, to be honest with you. But overall, a great way to start the Big Ten, as you just said.
And Indiana doing a good job at that is Big Ten, the Wisconsin. Up next. They have to travel up there. Your days traveling to Wisconsin, did you guys win up there? Because it used to be a deal where Bob Knight was like 31-0 or 131 straight against Wisconsin. And then the tide turned and Indiana could not beat Wisconsin to save their life. I don't know that Tom Crean ever won against Wisconsin. I don't know if when's the last time they won in the Kohl Center? I have to look that up.
Yeah, interesting, because I know our first game in the Kohl Center, Jim, I know we won. I mean, that was my senior year. That was when they first opened up. So that
was what, 99?
90? No, that was 98.
8?
Yeah, 98. We actually won that game. I still remember that game to this day because I started calling the defense, and Coach Knight laughed at me in the locker room. So I was trying to press. We was doing we never practiced pressing. I was like doing a fake press, kind of speed them up a little bit. One of those like 8 to 10 point victories, but kind of speed them up, make them play a little faster than they wanted to play, a little head game in that situation. And Coach Knight acknowledged that, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, that was that game in the Kohl Center. So yeah, it's good. I'm hoping we can continue that streak.
Yeah, I can confirm for you guys that is the last time that Indiana won in the Kohl Center.
Goodness.
Whether it was in the Kohl Center or in Madison in general, it was 1998.
Oh goodness. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That was that game.
Say that again, John. I know it's you said the last time.
The last time Indiana won on the road in Madison, Wisconsin, was in 1998 when Charlie so happened to be playing for him. So
yeah, that's the game. That was the first game. They just opened it up. So there we go, right there. Little history right there and a little insight.
69-59 was the score.
Yeah, I told you it was like an 8-10 point game. I knew it.
You're dead on. Yeah, the next year, let's see, where's at Wisconsin next year? I'm trying to find the game in my magic book here and trying to see what started off. Daggone it. Where the crap is it? At Minnesota, at Penn State, Wisconsin. I don't see it. I'll have to find it later, but
That
yeah,
stuff doesn't leave you, Jim. This stuff doesn't leave you. I said I didn't know the score, but the stuff like the memories and the point, the spread stuff just doesn't leave you.
Yeah, they lost by 3 in 99-2000 in Bob Knight's last season. So that was a close one. I still haven't found the game over here that started the streak in which they lost. I cannot tag as much as I find. I can't find at Wisconsin. They won at home that year. 98-99. I don't see the daggone at Wisconsin game. That's odd. Odd.
Well, I'm gonna say this too. This is one of those things, just again from a player's perspective, that you don't want to start putting in your mind because that's a known thing, right? Think about that. That's over 10, 15, 20 plus years. I mean, whatever. I mean, that's a long time. You don't want that in your mind because that kind of sinks in to the whole lead up to playing in that location. So they gotta stay away from that kind of the history. That's when the history kind of comes back to hunt you a little bit about what you've done, where, how you win, you always beat this team. You got to stay away from that kind of stuff as a player.
Yeah, but here's the funny thing. In 2001, under Mike Davis, they lose at Wisconsin 49-46 in a close game. Then at home, they beat the crap out of them. 83-55, number 17.
Yeah. That is so. It might be something about it.
That shows you how difficult it is in the cold
to play. Yep, exactly.
What makes it so difficult to play there, Charlie?
Man, who knows, right? I mean, again, we caught it when it was brand new. You got to remember they had an old hyper-like arena when that was like up until my senior year, right? But the Kohl Center was state of the art. So those are very prideful people. The Badger Nation is very prideful, man. So you just don't. I mean, who knows? But fanfare, right? It's probably tough to play. Home cooking, referees. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not gonna get fined. I don't care. Refs at home, man. The whistle blows a little bit more for home teams sometimes. So you got to learn how to play through that adversity. So I don't know the mystique. It's just it's interesting to know that we haven't won up there since '98.
Lots and lots of football news, Charlie, coming out over the weekend, especially overnight. Big news for Indiana, as it looks like their offensive coordinator is going to be Walt Bell. We'll probably find more out about that today. I'm sure that official announcement will be coming out. Michael Penix is in the transfer portal. Not a surprise at all because and I still don't know who's going to be Indiana's quarterback next year. I mean, the obvious thing is Jack Tuttle, but I don't know about that. I mean, anyway, Mike Penix but that's not a surprise. He's had, I thought, 3, but 4 season-ending injuries. I don't know what do you do from there, Charlie? It's such a hard. I feel so bad for him. Great kid, great athlete, tremendous season last year. And had all these expectations, and it just did not work out. And the injuries just have killed him. Feel sorry for him, but I don't know what you do after that. Do you still try to be a quarterback?
Well, last week I didn't want to allude to it, but I kind of felt that was going to happen. I kind of stayed away from it. I kind of talked around it. I felt he would be the one. He would be one of the players put their names in the portal, especially when the offense coordinator is probably going to go. In that situation, I mean, what other position can you play? Because if you're injury prone, because that's going to be in consideration wherever you look to go, right? Look, I mean, are you stable? Can you stay healthy all season? At best, at quarterback, I see you as a second or third string quarterback. I don't see you as a starter unless you go to a FCS school. No disrespect to them, unless you go down a level or two. I could definitely see him playing, but he has to stay healthy. That's just kind of my take on that.
Yeah. Now, and also, no offense to Nick Sheridan, but I think if he were to get out and get into maybe a different system, and he is coached up a little bit more,
right,
probably be successful. But more importantly, you've got to be behind a line that will protect you. That will also help him tremendously. But
and I want to say this to that. I think when that surgery, that shoulder injury happened, I think they put him on ice, Jim. I think they shoved him. I think it was more of a, okay, we need to move on. Let's like get you healthy. But I think it was that conversation with, hey, if you come back, you won't start. You won't really play. I think that change of guard started around that time, whenever he got hurt. But yeah, I mean, again, you just wish the best for the kid. And you just hope he can stay, injury free wherever he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Wish him the best. I mean, you hate seeing it. There's no animosity for him. He's just looking for a better opportunity. And I think that he knows going forward with a new offensive coordinator that we haven't talked about yet, in Walt Bell, that we don't really know what it's going to be like for him. It's probably he's already played under two offensive coordinators. So yeah, I expected this to happen. Absolutely. So I'm not shocked at all, but you do have a new coordinator, and Walt Bell will be talking about him more as the show goes on. So you've got that going on. All kinds of football action over the weekend too, Charlie. Games that decide on who's going where. A lot of surprises. The biggest one was the Big Ten championship. And I got to tell you, I had a nice little parlay. I bet 3 teams or just a 3-leg parlay. All I needed was Iowa to stay within 12.5 points, and they lose by the biggest margin in the history of the Big Ten championship game. Michigan beat them 42-3. Michigan has just gotten better as the season goes along, and they are a threat to win the national championship. And that is just so ironic after the but the grief Jim Harbaugh was catching up in Michigan. They had to restructure his contract for him to stay. And now he's having the most success that he's had in Michigan. He has vanquished Ohio State for the first time. And they're going to the college football playoffs. Now, that's not an easy path. They're going to have to play, who are they playing? Georgia? But it'll be a good one. Charlie, I'm just talking about Michigan and their resurgence in football under after Jim Harbaugh had to have his contract restructured. Is Charlie with us, John? I can't tell. There he is.
I'm on now.
Charlie's back. Yeah. I was just talking about Jim Harbaugh and all that he's gone through, up to the point of having to have his contract restructured last year for them to keep him. Now he's having the most success that he's had at Michigan, beating Ohio State, winning the Big Ten championship, going to the college football playoffs, and with a legit chance to win a national title. I mean, they have to play Alabama, but Alabama has looked beatable this year. So Georgia hadn't beaten anybody. You have to realize that. And so I think this is going to be a fun game. Now, Cincinnati, I think it was a great year. You know, if this is the year that one of them is going to get in, it's going to be this year, because college football was there was no dominant team. But we'll see how they end up. They're going to have to play they play Alabama. That's another thing. I think Michigan should have went to number 1, but we got to take a quick break. When we come back, the Fish is going to join us. Don Fisher. We're back with more on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our great friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, located at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington. Make sure you stop by Patterson and Rogers to see our good friends at Southern Stone. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration.
Yeah, but it's still impressive what Cincinnati did. Like, if you think about it, that didn't happen overnight, right? I mean, it's like, and also to maintain a top 5 status all season. And to think we had them on the ropes. We had them on the ropes right on.
Should have beat them.
Yeah.
Good morning, Don.
Drives me nuts.
Morning,
how
guys.
you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Charlie, are you going to stick around today, or are you going to have to head out?
Yeah. I'm gonna stick around for 15 if that is the next segment, if you don't mind.
Perfect.
Cool. I know where I'm going today, John. I'm not just driving. I'm not just on any highway, just driving today.
The Wandering Charlie.
Oh my God, that was crazy. I don't know if you guys ever done that. I was just driving.
I
Like,
ran
where
out of
am I
gas,
going?
Charlie. One time I was driving on the interstate on a trip, talking in a long and depth conversation. I ran out of gas.
Man. Yeah.
I ran myself straight up out of gas. All of a sudden, I'm driving. I was so into this conversation. And all of a sudden, sputter putter. I'm like, what the hell am I? And I knew instantly. I was like, SHIT. I was like, I'm in trouble. Not good.
I ran out of gas twice, both times with my wife in the car, which is really a mistake.
Oh, that's fun.
Big mistake, boys.
Yep. Well, you've had her in the car. At least I've been told, stop, go get it. Okay, I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna show you how Betty can get anywhere. She can get there. All of a sudden, hey, I need help. Can you come get me?
Well, the good news, the karma was that my wife then ran out of gas one time too. That was really good.
Oh man!
Of course, then you can't laud it over them because, oh my gosh, that's a mistake on its own.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mercy.
Right, I'm gonna go ahead.
Man, you're gonna get some more golf in, Don.
Why?
Well, it's been warm. It's nice. 60s. It's been in the 60s.
You know what? Once the golf season ends for me, I just can't pick up a club.
Just put it away.
I don't want to, but I pretty much have to. I mean, the month of November, I can't swing. I have no chance to swing a club because
November is
all the games prep and all that kind of
Here
stuff.
we go. 10 seconds.
We're on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back on this Monday, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Joined now by the great Todd Fisher. Hello, Don. How are you, sir?
Morning, guys. Good to be with you.
Lots to talk about for Indiana over the weekend. Looks apparently a new offensive coordinator. Michael Penix is in the transfer portal, and Indiana wins the Big Ten opener over Nebraska. So all kinds of stuff going on.
Well, and then the Syracuse game, too, last week, even though they lost a terrific comeback performance by an Indiana ball club that was down 18. All those things are so positive. And I looked at the Syracuse game as, it's your first road game. It's the first time you've been on the road with your new coach and the new coaching staff. There are a lot of things that are going through the process there, learning about how you handle things both on the road and in a place like the Carrier Dome, which is one of those big facilities that doesn't give you great sight lines from a shooting perspective, those kinds of things. And then you get almost nothing from a bench that has been very productive throughout most of this season and give them good minutes. The bench couldn't quite get it done. The starters come back in. Indiana's down 18 at halftime, and they come back and make a double overtime game out of it. I was just so proud of the way they fought their way back into this one. And great performances from the two guys that you expect to be consistently good from a shooting perspective, and Parker Stewart and Miller Kopp, joining Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson, who had great ball games themselves. Both had a double-double. So, yeah, you know what? I was disappointed in them losing. They had opportunities to win it several times in those two overtime periods, but they didn't get it done at the end. Sometimes you learn from your mistakes, and man, did they have a lot of mistakes in this ball game because of the 26 turnovers that gave Syracuse 33 points. So from that perspective alone, just to be in the ball game was probably more than you could have expected. And then on top of that, to be able to take it to two overtimes, being down 18, that's just saying that's saying something about your ball club and the personality that you're developing.
Yeah, they did everything right except for hold on to the ball, like you said. The turnovers, that's what killed them. I mean, my God, they shot 41% from 3-point, and that's on 27 attempts.
Right.
And just between these two teams alone, there was 61 3-point attempts taken. 61. That's a lot. And free throws, Indiana shot 74% at the line in that game. So when you see those good things, especially like you said, in a place like the Carrier Dome, that's not fun to shoot in, and Indiana is continuing to do most of the things well. The turnovers, Charlie, those are things that you can and usually clean up, I would assume.
Well, yeah, you double what Coach Woodson would like to have, and now you have to play with a deficit, because when you're on the road and people are converting your turnovers, those live ball turnovers, that's a deficit in itself. Then you have to shoot a high percentage for me from the 3-point range and 2-point range. So that kind of puts you in a bind. But I'm glad they fought back. I think that was awesome to see, to fight back. I mean, there's a lot of hope and optimism for me because of that fight back and dog. Certainly, we have a dog back in us a little bit. We got some winning ways in us. That's so pretty promising.
Yeah, the other thing, Jim and Charlie, the other thing that was in evidence this week, Indiana got nothing from their bench in the Syracuse game. I think maybe Christian Lander, gave him some positive minutes when he was in there because of foul trouble, that kind of thing. But they really got not much from the bench. And then in the Nebraska game on Saturday, the bench sparks them. I mean, these guys, Anthony Leal led that group with a big 3-point shot as soon as he comes off the bench. Tamar Bates comes in and scores a career-high 13 points. The freshman from Texas does a great job in that ball game, or Kansas City, I should say. And when you look at what Indiana is doing now, they are developing. It's a process. It's a process. It takes time, and they had turnover problems in the first half of the Nebraska game too, and then they cut those out for the most part in the second half. It's a process. It takes time. You're building your team, the personality of your team. The other thing that Woodson has done, I think, is he made really good adjustments, especially at halftime. Whatever they're doing at halftime, they come out and they just play different, and it's adjusting to what the other team is doing. So that tells you that the coaching staff is doing all the right things as well. So what I'm seeing right now is development in this basketball team, and they've got to cut the turnovers out. If they get rid of the turnovers and get down to a reasonable number in each ball game, they're going to have a ball club that's going to be tough to deal with throughout this basketball season. And that's all Indiana fans are looking for this year. They want to see improvement. They want to see development, and they want to see a team that fights. And right now we're seeing all those things.
Exactly.
Yeah, Don, to follow up on what you're saying, it seems like a lot of times there's a different guy that kind of steps up off the bench, whether it's Anthony Leal, Christian Landers had his spots, Tamar Bates. And that's growth. You talk about the growth.
Right.
There you go. You're growing your bench. And I think that's exactly what they're doing with it being a different guy and saying, hey, here's an opportunity. Anthony Leal, Coach talked about him needing more minutes in a presser prior to that, and he lived up to his word. There's Leo, and comes in, and every time he does not seem to ever get rattled. He's able to maintain and knock down a three or whatever, and that's with the not having the playing time that he has had. That's mature of him. He does not get rattled out there.
No, I like what I see from Anthony. There's no question. He hasn't had a lot of minutes at this point in the season, but you're right. He's come in and he's done what they've asked him to do. And he doesn't seem you're right. He doesn't get rattled out there. And the one thing I will tell you that everybody has talked about Anthony Leal this year, anytime you've had a conversation with it where his name comes up, they talk about how he has been the hardest working player on the court in practices throughout the entire process since Mike Woodson's come on board. So this kid is working to get better and better, and he's got a lot of work to do. There's no question about that. He's still learning, but he is one of those guys that you could say, you know what, he's making progress, and it shows on the court.
I have to take it to a football direction. We have had no official announcements, but it looks like Walt Bell is going to be the next offensive coordinator for Indiana, which he's most recently a head coach at UMass. But that is what we're seeing and hearing right now, Don.
Well, and I don't know much about Walt Bell other than the fact that he was the head coach at UMass, and I know he's been an assistant coach elsewhere, those kinds of things. I don't know enough about him to really comment too much at this juncture. He didn't have a very good 3 years at UMass, I can tell you that. His record was abysmal. But you know what? Here's the thing. There are a lot of guys that become head coaches that have been coordinators that just don't have success and in their first stint as a head coach. And then they get fired and they go someplace else. They have more success, and then they come back and they're really good. So you just don't.
Cameron did not have great success as the head coach, but what is one of the best offensive coordinators at all of his stops that he went to. I just think that sometimes that's just not a position for someone, and where they can just focus on what they do best. And
Kevin Wilson.
Boom.
I mean, there you go. I mean, perfect example.
Does anyone have an easier job in the world than Kevin Wilson right now?
He might argue with you a little bit about that just because they got beat recently by a team that they don't like getting beat by, but nevertheless.
Speaking of that, how about the Michigan Wolverines, man? Going to not only represent the Big Ten or win the Big Ten, but going to go to the college football playoffs.
Right.
And looking strong, probably the strongest the Big Ten has looked for a long time.
Well, we're going to find out because they're going to play a Georgia team that looks pretty good too. And even though they got getting clobbered, in fact, by Alabama, who is really, I mean, is anybody shocked that Alabama's there? I'm not. Nick Saban is one of the best football coaches in the history of college football. Whether you like him or not, personality-wise, nobody gets off in his personality, but the guy just knows what he's doing as a college football coach. So I don't know much. Again, if Walt Bell is the guy, great, and we'll see what he can do with this Indiana offense. But I still am concerned. I think there's a lot of things to be concerned about. Of course, Michael Penix is in the portal now. We kind of anticipated that was going to be the case because of his physical struggles throughout his career at Indiana, not being able to stay healthy in any way, shape, or form. And I wish Michael the best because obviously he's had a tough go, no question about that. That said, this football team still has a lot of questions that have to be answered. And I think I don't know if Tom is done with changes in his staff or anything like that. If he is, we'll just have to wait and see how that all plays out because I think that still is something that's concerning.
Absolutely. I was surprised that we haven't seen more changes. I should have jumped around, but up next, Indiana. Well, it's not Yeah, Wisconsin. Indiana stays in the Big Ten this Wednesday, traveling to a place that they just have not had a lot of. We were just talking about this with Charlie. Charlie was on the last team to win at the Kohl Center. He said they opened it up and they beat them then, and that's the last win for Indiana up there.
Yeah, it's 23 years, Charlie, in case you're counting.
Hey, no. It does. I was in the
Damn,
ballpark.
Charlie, that makes you old, man.
I know. I was in the ballpark because I told them that was the first time we played in the Kohl Center, and I told them a little insight. I started doing this little press at the end of the game. I said we wanted between 8 and 10 points. I knew it. And Coach Knight gave me a jab or two because he was like, "What the hell you were doing? Why were you doing it?" I was trying to speed him up. And it worked, right? And he laughed at it a little bit. But and Jim said we won by 10. So I was like, I knew it was something around there, but I didn't realize the last time we won at the Kohl Center.
Charlie, it was 69-59 was the final score of that ball game, and it's the only time that Indiana has won in that building.
Wow.
And that's 23 years ago. And obviously last year, Indiana, if you could believe this, Indiana gave Wisconsin all they could handle last year and took them into overtime before getting beat. So it's time. This team, it is time to get this done. And here's the thing about Wisconsin. They're the same team that they have been all those years. They have the system in place.
Scrappy.
Yeah. I mean, they know what they're doing. Their system is perfect for them. They recruit players to their system. Greg Gard has continued on what Bo Ryan built, and without question, it's going to be a real challenge. But I like what I see from this Indiana basketball team, and we'll see if they can get it done.
That's right.
I was trying to. Last year, the average age of the Wisconsin team was older than the Chicago Bulls. This year, it's only it's 22 and a half years old, which is still old for an average. Wow. So you've got some seasoned dudes there. But Don, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the week. Tonight, of course, back out inside Indiana basketball with Mike Woodson at Southern Stone Restaurant, correct?
Yep, 7:05 this evening, and then of course Wednesday night it's a 7 o'clock tip time on Wednesday, which is really good when you're on the road to play a 7 o'clock game. You love that, and then of course Merrimack on Sunday.
Yeah, Merrimack. You know that basketball power. I'm not even sure where Merrimack is, but
it's in New York, big boy.
There you go. I'll look that up. Don Fisher, you are the best, man. We thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys. Good talking to you. See you guys.
Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, joining us for always a fun time here on Mondays. We're back with more on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Charlie, how's your day? Rest of your day going to go?
Good, man. Actually, I just got to school, man. I want to talk about it next week, man. So it's pretty interesting thing I'm doing as a PE teacher.
Yeah, Charlie's not with us full time for a couple of weeks because he's doing some cool. That's got to be a kind of a cool learning experience.
It is. It's a cool thing, man. You know, having this opportunity.
Is there something there with? How old are these kids?
They're from 2nd through 8th grade, and
so you get the smaller kids.
Yeah.
Is there something there that you can take into what you do in your daily?
No. Well, yeah. I mean, the character development, right? I mean, that's that, and just and again, and the wholeness and wellness aspect of it, right? And what I've learned as a basketball coach over the years and player development, what I really focus on, and you get a chance to incorporate it, right? So, and we'll definitely talk more in depth about that when the time is right.
Cool, brother. Well, we appreciate you. As always, I hope you have fun.
All right, man. I appreciate you guys. Okay, thank you.
Hey, we're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Plenty to talk about right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
The pro and college football.
Hey, Jim, Keegan said he had a potential segment piece to talk about if you wanted to have him on.
Who's Keegan?
I have a piece about transfer quarterbacks that we could target coming out today.
Absolutely.
And also 2 things. I have a 6:45 reservation at Southern State tonight, just for you to know, Jim. And then DJ Matthews tweet.
You're
about
cutting out, by
Louisville.
the way. You're cutting out.
You're
I
kind of
am.
cutting in and out. You might be fine now.
Well, are you using earbuds?
Yeah. Hello.
All right, keep talking now.
I feel like that made it worse.
Keep talking. Now you're freezing, or you frozen.
Hey, Keegan, if you can hear me, drop out.
If you can hear me, drop out and just come back in.
Goodness.
Oh my goodness. All right.
What was that?
What was that?
All right. Keegan, you can hear me from the green room. Drop out and come back in, and maybe plug your headphones back in. Okay, there we go. And if he has issues still, then you can go into the other basketball stuff that we have with Kitchell and Woodson. And he says computer's frozen. I'm just going to tell him he could restart it and come back in when he's ready. All right, I'm going to bring us back in. Are you going to go to you can do the presser stuff?
Sure.
Okay.
Percent APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Or how about a brand new 2021 Honda Passport? Also 0% APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. It is a Monday, and we have lots to talk about, lots going on. Just finished up with Don Fisher. Michael Penix is in the portal. He's gone. Not a shock there. Syracuse. We talked about the Syracuse game with Don and most recently as well. And now Indiana heads up to Wisconsin, a place they've had a lot of trouble on Wednesday. College football playoffs are set, and with Michigan is in there deep. Looking, we'll be talking to Keegan Nickoson about some potential quarterback transfers, because I'm not sure Indiana has a starting quarterback right now. Now, Josh Hoover's coming in at the break as well, and rarely can a freshman do that. I don't know that he's one that can, but I don't know that he's one that cannot, playing at the level he's played at 6A football in Texas. You see a lot down there. Keegan, are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Keegan Nickoson from the Hoosier.com. And Josh Hoover, I've talked about him a lot. He just intrigues me in watching him play, how well he plays, how far along he is. And I know everyone looks better in high school because if you can stand out more, but there's something about him that I think he is one of those quarterbacks that just has it. That has it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But you've been doing some digging in the transfer portal because, like I said, Indiana does not have a starter right now.
Yeah.
Jack Tuttle is not. I don't know that Jack Tuttle is the answer. Now maybe under a different coach, a different quarterbacks coach, that changes. Who knows? But what have you been digging up?
Yeah, just to touch on kind of Josh Hoover, he honestly reminds me of Josh Allen a lot. I mean, the number 17, obviously, but just how he moves around, how he can sling it, go from different arm slots. You know, he was a pitcher at Rockwall Heath, and I think he touched up to 90 miles an hour. So he offers that kind of.
Well, he's just he's one of those athletes, because we talked. He's been on a couple times, and the first time he was on, we found out that his first time playing golf, he shot an 82. I'm not kidding. Well, that's not normal.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Now, he had been practicing chipping and putting at home because it was during COVID, but that's it. And he goes out and shoots an 82. That's just not normal.
No, definitely not.
Most people that are listening that play golf and have been playing golf for years can't shoot an 82 right now. No. I can't shoot an 82 right now.
I can't break 100, and I've been playing for the last 3 years.
To do it on your first attempt, that's a different level athlete.
Yeah. Yeah.
But who are some of the names you dug up?
So some of the names that I found there are 3 good fits that I found. Carter Bradley at Toledo. He spent, I think, the last 3 years, maybe 4 years at Toledo. He held an offer coming out of Indiana. He's a class of 2018 guy, so you could offer maybe a year or 2 of eligibility. He's a pro guy, great pocket presence, has a really strong arm, and he just looks confident throwing the ball. Another one is Jaron Williams out of Miami. He transferred to Garden City Community College, so into JUCO route after Miami, and then he's at USF now and leaving. So he's got that USF connection with Coach Allen, which there has been a lot of staff turnover there, so I don't know how many connections there are, but I still think that Coach Allen will have some pull there with the Bulls. And then the third one is going to be Jack Plummer at Purdue. With the Indiana ties, the Jeff Brom ties, I think he could be a great fit. And he has
the portal?
Yes. Yeah. He has a lot of snaps under his belt, and he can come in and immediately make an impact as a leader and as a seasoned veteran. And which I think that's what Indiana needs, is a 1-year buffer, and then have
exactly.
Yeah. And then have a QB battle between McCauley and Hoover. And then whoever loses that battle is probably going to.
Dexter Williams is going to have something to say about that.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, it looks like McCauley and Hoover are going to be your one or 2 guys for the next few years. So, but McCauley's not ready, and they learned the hard way with McCauley to not throw your true freshman quarterback in the fire.
What about Grant Grimmel?
If you want to have a walk-on quarterback as your guy, but
I don't care where they come from. I just want the best, and I'm not saying he is, but I mean, who knows? Had he not been ignored, maybe he would have been better, because he didn't get the reps that Penix got. He didn't get the reps that Tuttle got. He didn't get the reps that Donovan got. So you're looking at a guy who's not been thought of really, and you're like, well, wait a minute, he's not exactly terrible. Had he, maybe if he had been developed, who knows?
Mm-hmm. I think bringing in a transfer who's seasoned and has some snaps with a higher ceiling is going to be better. And then the interesting thing is, you look at more dark horses. You've got Dylan Gabriel from UCF out there, if Coach Allen wants to make a call, and then, more of a long shot, Adrian Martinez. But, there are a lot of options out there, and it's kind of an exciting period because you just pick up the phone and you can call them and just see what happens. So I did a lot of research, and, this is only a week after the season ends, and we've got, I think, 7 Big Ten quarterbacks in the portal. So it's going to be a whole offseason process, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Jack Plummer, that would be just funny.
It's interesting. It's a name. So,
well, it's not like Indiana hasn't had players go there. They just lost the running back earlier this season.
Yeah, and it's rare to find someone with so many snaps like him, because he's had two and a half almost full seasons of snaps. So,
wasn't he playing?
He started the first four games this year, and then O'Connell took over in the Iowa game. I think was his first kind of splash.
Well, we'll certainly see, but yeah, they're going to have to do something. I agree with what you say, that I think that they need a Band-Aid to patch them over. They don't have a starter. But again, if Walt Bell is the guy, he's been a quarterback's coach at his previous stops, which Nick Sheridan was the quarterback's coach. And I think that definitely saw a downtick in the production of the quarterbacks. And the development just wasn't there. It was really shocking how bad. But anyway, developing a quarterback is of just such a uber importance. That's the first thing they have to do. They have to develop as a player before they can go out and perform. And I just don't know that was getting done, but it's going to be interesting to see. But things are going to happen quickly. The time Indiana, is making their moves later than everyone else. A lot of movement that's been going on for weeks now. So, the Walt Bell name, and not exactly jumping off. A lot of people wanted, was it Kitley from
Kitley, and he's going to Texas Tech as of last night, as there is. So.
Which I'm like, oh man, you're right. There's no way you couldn't have landed him if you wanted him.
If Texas Tech is calling, that's his alma mater, and
it is.
Yeah,
okay.
And it looks like they're favorites to land Quinn Ewers from Ohio State, who's transferring. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff going on there. And if you can get Kitley and then get Ewers, you could possibly be a contender, especially with the Big 12 kind of losing powers in Oklahoma and Texas.
I think I just saw Boston College's quarterbacks in the portal. It's nuts. There's so much information. Sean says his concern is Walt Bell is Walt Bell a sexy enough name to get attention from skilled athletes in the transfer portal? We should have plenty of playing time available, but our offense destroyed NFL dreams last year. Yes, there's no lie to that. And he's talking specifically of Ty Freifogel.
Yeah.
And potentially Michael Penix, but I don't think has the AP poll came out, by the way? I don't want to have to say that. I just saw someone's tweet, but basketball. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting week because I think it has to happen this week. You got to get it done right now. It's of uber importance because these people are in demand. Indiana's not the only school that needs a quarterback. And the hardest thing for Indiana is if you have a new OC, which they do, and what's he known for? What's Walt Bell? What type of offense is he going to run? What's it been like? What success has he had? I know he's had zero success as a head coach. That's not surprising. We talked about this earlier. Cam Cameron did not have success as a head coach, but was brutal as a OC. He'd kill you. But what kind of offense are we going to expect from Walt Bell?
I think I heard that he likes to run an up-tempo offense, and I know during his time in North Carolina that he kind of developed Eric Ebron and turned him into a really, really solid tight end who got drafted pretty high to I think it was the Lions is who he originally got drafted to. But I've heard that it's mainly up-tempo. And just another development about Walt Bell is DJ Matthews put out a pretty cryptic tweet about 15 minutes ago of 2 frowny face emojis. And I'm pretty sure they would have overlapped at Florida State. So it looks like DJ Matthews isn't too happy about the hire, and that's one of your more important players on offense. So if he is somehow going to hit the transfer portal over this hire, that would be devastating.
And did it? I saw his tweet. Did it reflect directly to this hire?
It was just 2 frowny face emojis. There's no other thing, but you can't think that it's not about this hire, especially with the Florida State connection. So I don't know what else it would be about.
DJ Matthews, the transfer from Florida State, who played one season last year. Nothing. He was able to get nothing accomplished, but then again, no one did. I mean, none of the receivers did.
I mean, he was good when he was healthy. He had that really good game against Cincinnati. He scored twice and had a lot of receiving yards. And, you know, once he went down against Western Kentucky, our offense went down with him. So
I'm not going to judge the hire on name, but I have to tell you, this has to work. This has to be – I'm a little surprised that, they didn't get a little bit more sexier name to say, but who knows? Again, I'm not going to judge the hire on his head coaching experience. I don't know. I just maybe there was the people that they wanted they couldn't get, but I think for one, that's because they waited too long.
Yeah.
While a lot of other people were starting to make moves before the season ended, and I don't like that, but times have changed. The early signing period has been moved up. If you're out of, it's normally out of the playoffs per se, but out of bowl contention, scrap it. Start moving. You got to start planning. You're going to have to start planning for next year. I mean, I know that's not fun for student athletes, but you know what? The game has moved a little bit away from being a straight college game because of the NIL and the blah, 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 blah. So you've got to start thinking about next year. Nebraska did that. They knew that they weren't going to make a bowl and got rid of it and got guys in place. We'll see how it works out. It's going to be interesting, but again, and having a solid quarterback though, and a line. What about an offensive line? I'm shocked that there was no other change on the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Shocked. And if there's going to be other changes, why the hell are you waiting?
Yeah.
But right now I'm just shocked that there was no other changes. I'll be honest with you. I'm shocked that, not that I want anyone to lose a job, but Darren Hiller on the offensive line, it was kind of the same thing with the offense. The offense went as the line went, and the line was propagated mostly by guys that were there last year.
Yeah.
So there should not have been a letdown. There was a horrific letdown. Why? Don't know. But there was no change there. Just not – it's not – I'm not jacked up about the hires, I guess I should say.
Yeah. From what I've heard, it's a very underwhelming hire, I think is what producer John said. So.
Yeah. Does that mean it's time to go to break, John?
Yeah, just all of a sudden, suddenly, or unexpectedly is a better word, coincided with him mentioning my name. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes.
It's let's see. Many of us, me included, aren't overly excited about the hire, but looking at the mess the program was last year, would you personally want to risk your future with a team that has had 0 Big Ten wins? With the money that they pay, no, not sure that it matters. Although here's Tim points out, Bell's offense did put up 42 points on IU when he was the OC at Maryland. So he did his passing game at Florida State. They had nice numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's definitely an upgrade.
Well, you would have had to try very hard for it to be a downgrade after the 2021 year.
They would have had to hire me to downgrade it.
Yeah.
I don't know that would have been a downgrade, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But we do have to take a break. I'm going long here. I'm sorry about that. But we've got plenty more to talk about as Indiana is apparently found their offensive coordinator. The quarterback, Michael Penix, is in the wind in the transfer portal. We've got basketball coming back up on Wednesday. And tons of college football action from over the weekend to determine the football playoffs, bowl games, all kinds of things. We're back with lots more here on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our good friends at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. I was down there on Friday. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurants.
If you're in the market.
Wow, DJ Matthews is just on a cryptic tweet tirade right now.
I saw the second one, and I was like, I don't think this has to do with the OC.
Did he put another one?
He said, stop using good people.
What does that mean?
I think he's responding to someone else.
He could be mad about relationship problems or something. Who knows?
I don't know. It's our job to speculate.
All right, I got to find DJ Matthews. Where's Twitter? Dang it.
I'm going to turn his tweet notifications on. Also, Jim, if you want to mention that I do have that transfer portal piece coming out today on the Hoosier.
Now, do you have the story on what we just talked about on the portal quarterbacks?
Yeah, it's done, and it's on the Hoosier. Alex editing it, and it's coming out today.
Oh, shit, I wouldn't wait. I'd get that image out ASAP. Because we were behind on getting the one out.
Yeah, which I think news broke at like 11:45, so that's tough.
This is from 5 years ago, though, I think, when he was at Baltimore, when he went to Maryland. Resume: assistant head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach at Arkansas State, recruiting coordinator, tight ends coach at North Carolina, wide receivers coach, Southern Mississippi, graduate assistant, Southern Miss, offensive quality control coach at Oklahoma State. Like that. He was a wide receiver.
And what you said about them waiting too long, I don't think they waited too long. I think if the 2-23 UMass head coach is your hire, you made plenty of calls before him. So I don't think it was waiting. I think it was them getting turned down.
Well, I meant they waited too long to start doing it.
He means you done in the middle of the season.
Gotcha.
Not in the middle, but when there was 3 games left, I think that's when I asked the question, Tom Allen, is there any chance of personnel changes? He said not till the end of the season.
Do you want Keegan in this segment again, or no? We're coming back.
What are we talking about?
Whatever you want. I'll just pull him in if you call for him. That's fine.
He can stay in.
Okay.
More from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, starting your week. Hope it's a good one. Getting it off to a good one. It looks like it's nice outside. I think it's going to be nice weather here, at least in South Central Indiana, whatever Bloomington is. I'm from Southern Indiana. They call this Southern Indiana. It's not Southern Indiana. I'm from Southern Indiana. But looks like it's going to be nice out in Bloomington. Trying to get a better feel for Walt Bell, who is reportedly going to be Indiana's next offensive coordinator. Had lots of stops previously. He was at Maryland. He's been in the Big Ten before with Maryland, and pointed out they put 42 points up on Indiana when he was there. He oversaw the Florida State passing offense that ranked second in the ACC for passing yards per game at 270 and 28th overall in the country during the 2018 season. He served under Willie Taggart, the former Western Kentucky coach. Allen also coached under him at South Florida. which is where he went to, I think, after Western.
And I heard that there was kind of a rift between them when they went 5-7, and that's why he left Taggart's staff. So if that's the familiarity between Taggart and Allen, and then that's kind of the connection on why Bell was hired, you kind of wonder what Taggart had to say about someone that he basically removed from his staff after a pretty bad season.
In addition to his offensive coordinator duties at Florida State, he guided the growth of Seminoles quarterback DeAndre Francois, who continued his ascent up the Seminole record book rankings with a strong 2018 season that included 2,700 passing yards, 15 touchdowns after Francois missed all but one game in 2017 due to the injury. I remember him. Bell was also the OC, like we mentioned, and QB coach at Maryland during the 2016 and 17 seasons. So up tempo is what I'm gaining, and that's something that I called for that I think Indiana needs. You have to have an advantage of some sort. If you can't just line up and run over people and throw over them with confidence like Michigan and Ohio State, you got to do something kind of different.
Yeah.
And the tempo is something I'm like, why are they not using tempo all year long? I was wondering, dude, you're probably going to see that a little more.
Yeah.
Bell's offensive system showcased the capabilities of Big Ten Receiver of the Year, DJ Moore, who broke the single-season school record with 80 catches, a conference high, average almost 7 per game. Moore led the Big Ten with 1,000 receiving yards in 2017, and he became the program's only 1,000-yard receiver following the season. The Carolina Panthers selected Moore in the first round of the NFL draft. So he's capable.
Yes.
So if he has the tools around him, has the pieces around him, it's going to be interesting to see his offense, because Tom Allen was definitive in bringing in his defensive coordinator, drawing a name on his, or blank on his name right now. Well, because I always say the other name, Charlton Warren from Air Force, that he was told, hey, this is the defense that you have to run. You have to run this scheme. And normally head coaches don't do that. The coordinator kind of manages the scheme that they are used to. That was very different. Offensively, though, Indiana doesn't have a scheme. It's Tom Allen is not an offensive guy, so they don't have an offensive scheme. Now, he has repeatedly, from the time he's been here, said he likes a multi-dimensional quarterback. But who doesn't?
Yes.
And so most quarterbacks these days are multi-dimensional.
Yes, but you still have to be pass first if you're going to be a dual. And from what we saw from Donovan McCauley, and I don't know if you remember the Rutgers post game when he kind of talked about him, if you only run, you're not dual. So you've got to have both to be dual. So you can run first, dual quarterbacks don't work, especially in this Indiana offense. And you look at the success under Peyton Ramsey, Michael Penix. That's why I think Josh Hoover is going to flourish here. And that's why I think that you need to bring in a transfer to buffer for a season. So, but
yeah, I don't think that, even though Josh is coming in at semester, though, he will be here for the spring practice. Who knows? He could shock.
I don't think it's a good idea, it could happen, but
Trevor Lawrence was a true freshman. There are true freshmen that play.
Yes.
For high level teams.
Trevor Lawrence is also one of the top 5 quarterback recruits of all time.
He also had an offensive line that protected him.
Yeah, and he didn't start the season as well.
The absolute worst thing in the world you could do is put a quarterback out, a young quarterback with no protection.
Yes.
Indiana has done a great job already. Got to give Coach Kevin Peoples a shout. I should have given him one in the text I sent out, or tweet I sent out yesterday, but I sent a tweet out that it looks like Indiana is developing a pipeline to Ole Miss on the defensive line. 3
Yeah.
3 defensive linemen in 2 years. They get 2 this season. They got 1 last year right after playing them in the bowl game.
Yeah.
Which was kind of ironic, losing to Ole Miss and then getting a guy who was selected all Big Ten. And now you bring 2 more up, which I don't get. Why are they losing? Because they're having a successful season. But you've got 2 more guys coming up from Ole Miss. Kevin Peoples, the offense, the defensive line, they did a decent job. They need to get more pressure, but they're out there hounding. They're getting busy. Kevin Peoples obviously doing a great job there, but offensive line, they've got to there's got to be a ton of changes made here. But I was shocked, and I'm still shocked that it hasn't started with Darren Hiller.
Yeah, from what I've heard from a source inside the team, he's still on the trail recruiting. So it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. But like we're seeing the situation in Miami, they've still got Manny Diaz out recruiting, and they're actively trying to replace him. So you never know. It could happen, but you think it already would have happened if it was going to.
Oh, I talked about that the other day. There was a Notre Dame coach that was just pissed.
Because he left the house.
He left the house of a recruit and finds out on Twitter that Brian Kelly's gone. And he goes, it made me look like an a-hole.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's college athletics is not the most above board thing. And my favorite will always be Tommy Tuberville when he was at Texas Tech sitting down at a dinner with a recruit, getting a phone call, walking off to take the call, and not coming back because it was an offer from Cincinnati.
Yeah, and that's basically what Brian Kelly did. I don't know if you saw that story, but he was I
didn't see what Brian Kelly did. What did Brian Kelly do?
He was at an in-home visit talking up Notre Dame with a kid, took a 15-minute phone call, which is basically him accepting the LSU job, figuring out the terms, went back inside, talked to the kid, and ate the burnt ends that his mom had made for the visit, left, and then it was announced he was leaving. He knew he was leaving, went and got a dinner.
I bet I know how that went, though, is, son, we really need you at Notre Dame. You could be a great player. And then when he comes back, son, you'd be a great player down at LSU. I could use you in our lineup. I really, really do. I think you'd be a phenomenal player and be a part of our family. I'm sure that's how that recruit. I wonder if that's how the recruiting goes now for Allen did an in-home with Caden Curry last night. Ross putting up. That is that's a guy that they desperately could use for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the one is obvious, his talent. But 2, it's what it says to other recruits. Indiana's not landing that lineman that just speaks to other recruits. That's the one thing. They can land a quarterback, they can land a wide receiver, or even like a Taiwan Mullen type, but they're not landing the linemen. Linemen is where they're having problems. And like you lose, Indiana always loses. They don't produce a ton of great ones in the state, but the ones they do, man, you lose to Ohio State. You got guys starting for Ohio State. Was it the year before last? You had guys on the line playing against each other from the same damn high school, Cathedral. But they've got to start. You've got to start from the inside out.
Yeah, and I get you being kind of critical on them not getting O-line transfers, but they got 4 new players.
Critical, I'm just being honest.
I know, but you're kind of you're saying they should do it now, but they got 4 transfers just yesterday, and the season ended just a little over a week ago. So they're obviously.
I meant in their general recruiting and development.
Yeah. So they're being active, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got a few O-line transfers in here soon. And it looks like once they come on a visit, it's a day later that they're saying that they want to sign. So.
Well, let's hope that happens. Looking forward to that because they have got to, after the season that was had a year ago, you got expectations. Everything that was gained was lost.
Yeah.
But I think it can be gotten back because people have seen that it's attainable. Now you've got to put that up. You've got to be competitive, and they just weren't. I mean, man, it just, you go back and boy, if I was a coach or player, it would be driving me nuts to have lost the games against Cincinnati and Michigan State and all that. I don't handle that stuff. But apparently it's not as nice outside as it looks. Scott says it's in the mid 30s with a 30-mile-an-hour wind, but is that here? I didn't think so. Maybe it is. Forrest thinks that IU football has some internal issues, just an opinion. The majority of the team packed it in the last 4 to 5 games. I do agree with partly to that. They did pack it in at the end of the season. You could they were also beat to hell.
Yeah.
The defense was beat to hell, and they just weren't as strong as they were. But it is mentally draining. As if you're a defensive player and I'm sorry, but when you know that the offense just can't do anything, it's pretty degrading. I mean, it's hard to go back out there and do that. But
yeah. And when you've got a true freshman that you weren't planning on playing that comes in and he's looking like kind of the plan for the rest of the season, and then you've got a walk-on that comes in, it's kind of like you throw your hands up and like, what are we supposed to do? It's kind of defeating. And it, like Coach Allen said, it was kind of an anomaly, just how many injuries they had and how many ankle injuries specifically they had. So I'm interested to see if there's going to be any changes in the training staff with so many injuries. But
see, everybody said that during Archie Miller's tenure with Cliff. Seriously, because you had all those freaky injuries, but those were freaky injuries. I mean, Rob with a damn concussion. You can't protect. You can't plan for that. You can't do some chin ups or anything that will save you from that. And oh golly, can't think of his name now. The wing from Ohio that transferred out. I'm not sure. Had the leg problem the whole time. It was a vein.
Did you get a Xavier?
No. Yeah. Well, I think so. But that was not an injury. That was a condition. So
yeah.
Injuries. Football's a brutal sport, guys. It's just, it's a brutal sport, and that's what happens, unfortunately. Scott says IU football was only competitive in 5 games. Yeah, tough schedule. Yes, injuries, but that team seemed to give up mid-year. They did. You look back at the Iowa game. Iowa, even though they had an unbelievable record, Iowa was not that good.
No.
Way better than their record. And I'm still saying that Cincinnati wasn't that good.
Before we go to break, I want to point out something that I've pointed out in the podcast before as a kind of an unfortunate foreshadowing that I did on the very first episode that we did. I mentioned to Dustin that what happens if Michael Penix goes out there against Iowa and on the first drive throws an interception or a pick six? And that's exactly what happened. And look at what had transpired throughout the rest of the season. I'm not saying that I predicted a major downfall, but it is kind of crazy that the scenario, the kind of nightmare opening drive scenario, was the beginning of what ended up being probably the worst Indiana football season in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Since the 1-11, obviously, the opening Kevin Wilson season.
All right, so is it break time?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do that. We're back with more. We're going to hear from Mike Woodson, going to hear from Tamar Bates, going to hear from Race Thompson, and also from Ted Kitchell. How about that? Honored to have Ted on the other night for the post-game show. Just tremendous person, but these guys are so good with the game. They see it. They can just sit back and watch it unfold and see everything that's going on that we can't. It's like they're how they see it. It's like they're watching a different movie than we're watching. The people are separated, highlighted, the moves. It's amazing. But we'll be back with that and more right back on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurants.
Whether it's a celebration or that Keegan, that hire I was talking about is official.
Walt
Did I
Bell?
tell you that? No, the one I was telling you about in regards to us.
Can you tell me a name?
Oh, yeah.
Not on the air. Maybe text
No,
her.
not there.
I think we'll have Reamer joining us shortly, too, by the way.
Well, the name's not going to help you.
Well, I can look up his Instagram or something or Twitter. That would help.
There you go.
I saw you talking to Matt after the game. Were you trying to recruit Matt?
No. Talking to him about something. We got tons of segments there, John Boy. That football quarterback is a nice little segment.
Yep, I've already got a thumbnail for it. I'm way ahead of you.
Adrian Martinez, my God, where the hell is he going now?
He's going to go to Ole Miss or USC. He's going to go to a powerhouse. I just put it in there to draw eyes. Because you got to think, Ole Miss is probably going to get Archie Manning, and then USC has that 5-star that is coming with Lincoln from Oklahoma.
Then why in the hell is he going to go to either one of those places?
Because you need a buffer year, just like Indiana.
Oh, they need a Band-Aid?
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Reamer, and your forehead.
Right. It's a 5-head at this point.
A 5-head.
Yeah, I was getting set up when you texted. So. I'm okay with not being on the video there. I don't need to look at me. Hold on a second.
You're fine.
ESPN.
Remote you can talk into.
That's right. ESPN. Well, for F's sake. All right.
Kyler's.
You got one more attempt in you for our comeback from break. You got 15 seconds.
No, we're good.
All right.
For 48 months and $0 down. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurants.
Welcome back. It is Monday. I hope your week is starting off well. Trying to help you with that. Jim Coyle here with joined by Keegan Nickoson from thehoosier.com and Jim Reamer. Of course,
Howdy.
Indiana. How's it going?
Good.
All kinds of things that we've talked about. Of course, football is still going on. Lots of things happening there in Indiana with the quarterback in the portal, new offensive coordinator potentially hired. So lots of things happening there. On the basketball court, Indiana has their first Big Ten win. They've got another challenge this Wednesday at Wisconsin. We've talked about that, a place they have not won since the Civil War, I believe. There you go, 1998. Charlie was on with us earlier, and he had they just opened the Kohl Center when he played there, and they won, and that was the last time that Indiana won in Wisconsin was when they opened up the Kohl Center. It's just it's like been a combination of things. They caught. Well, I don't know why. Mike Davis came close to winning there. They lost by 3. I remember in 1. And then they ended up beating them by like 30 at home that same season. I pulled it up a minute ago. Indiana lost by 3 on the road at Wisconsin and then beat the crap out of them at Assembly Hall. It just seems like it's a lid. There's a lid on that place for Indiana now for some reason.
Well, and college kids are so. I mean, college kids can be pretty inconsistent. I mean, it's still. They still don't. I don't know. In a given week, who knows? Some of it depends on when they play. That's the old Gene Katie adage. It's not who you play, but when you play them. There could be any number of reasons that college kids really don't perform well on the road. Maybe I don't know if they're impacted. Charlie would have to answer that. If they're how impacted a guy like Charlie or any of those guys would be by a road crowd. I mean, we get pretty big crowds in high school games here in Indiana still, but it's still not 18,000, fans. It's not how many students do normally attend a college game, that are getting student tickets, close to 4,000, 5,000? Is that what it is? Like at Assembly Hall?
7.
So that's.
You talking about student section?
Yeah, that's a pretty rambunctious, sometimes ugly, even though it's mostly just immature-ish. We all were that way, probably.
Well,
the
bad thing is it's the largest student section in college basketball, but they run them up basically an entire section all the way up instead of using them on the court.
But Indiana does.
Yeah, and it makes no sense. The student section is a sixth man of sorts. And especially in a place like Assembly Hall, they just are not using it correctly, in my opinion. I mean, you look at these other places, man, these students are, and I know you got to have your big dollar seats, and those guys are sitting on the floor and all that and behind the bench. But you know what? Use Assembly Hall for what it's for. Put students in a place where they can affect the game.
Well, and Purdue puts them in the end zone. There's really no courtside seats at Purdue.
There are some, not for students. There are some, and they have recliners courtside.
Right. They have that nice section that's only about 4 or 5 years old, but in terms of the types of seating that's there, in terms the actual seats. But I'm talking about there's nothing on the court like that's right smack dab on the court. All their stuff is off the court.
Well, and then another thing, though, is the worst seat at Mackey is not that bad.
Yeah, we can talk about how outdated Assembly Hall is and how bad some of those seats are. I mean, we'll get hate mail, but you know what? That's fine. Most of the people that would send in that mail aren't sitting up there. Luckily, I'm not either.
The balcony is
when I go there.
The balcony at Assembly Hall is the worst place I have ever sat for a sporting event in my life.
It's not bad behind the tunnel. I mean, below the tunnels. I'm sorry, below the entry tunnels, but it's because it's a different view. And for someone like me, I don't mind that view because it's a top-down view. I get to see the whole court without so much as a blink. But it's even those people that are above the tunnels in the lower level. Those seats are. I think sometimes those seats are worse because you can't even see the scoreboards when you're sitting in those seats. It's a horrible
design. It goes up 46 rows at an odd angle, and they had the opportunity when Simon Scott came in with the $40 million to renovate Assembly Hall. They had the opportunity to say, you know what, let's just scrap this and build a new arena, which is exactly what they should have done. They should have built a new Assembly Hall at that time. And yeah, I know it's cool, it's iconic, and a lot of history is there. And I would hate to see that go too. But at the same time, it sucks. I'm just being honest. It sucks as an arena, man. From a viewer standpoint.
From that standpoint, look, it's cool from a playing standpoint. I've coached in there when it's been mostly empty. Well, hell, when it's been all but maybe friends and family when they used to be able to have summer basketball events there. I made a comment once on here, and Charlie's kind of agreed. I think Charlie agreed with me that sometimes it's almost more awe-inspiring when it's empty than when it's full, because when you walk in, it's so straight up and down, it almost looks flat. It almost loses its dimension, and just the impression of how expansive those sideline seats are and how high up it goes. I don't think I'm sure statistically there's probably a taller arena, but that isn't a dome like the Carrier Dome. But at the same time, 90% of the seats are along the sidelines, right? It's got to go up pretty high. I mean, I don't know I've ever seen another arena that is as high as what Assembly Hall is, and a lot of those seats are bad. So,
not for the number of seats it has. I mean, the height.
Right.
Yeah, it's the angle it's a weird deal, man. But and this now it's not going anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So,
not unless it's the Cuban Center.
Yeah. Well, we could see that happen. It'd be easy. It would certainly be easier to spell than.
Can we get? We need to put Dolson. Can we get Dolson on Shark Tank?
It might take that.
By the way, I'm like 10 years late to that show. I watch that show, I think, every night in one way, shape, or form now. I don't know what the heck was wrong with me, but
I used to watch it.
I love it. It's a great show.
Xavier Booker is a name that's come up that I've heard that the Indiana love is not as strong as what it could have used to have been.
Huh.
Yes,
Really?
Thank you. I was trying to think of this name earlier. Jerome Hunter. Thank you.
What was that? What was that about?
I was talking about injuries, and Keegan had mentioned maybe they should change training staffs. I'm like, well, they said the same thing for Coach Cliff during the Archie Miller era, because all those guys were getting hurt, but it was just odd injuries. The concussion to Finney, the condition that Jerome Hunter dealt with. That was just kind of odd. Xavier Booker, I'm hearing.
Yeah, the odd thing
he canceled a couple trips to Indiana, yet took a trip to Purdue that same week, I believe.
Well, you could read any couple of things in there. It could be that he's more interested in them. Look, he's off to a good start. I've not seen Cathedral play yet, and I know they play again this weekend when I'll be in the same gym, but I'm still leaving before their game because I'll see them. I'm still going to see them probably 4 or 5 times this year. So I didn't get a chance to watch them this past weekend. Because I wanted to go to Bloomington North at Center Grove on Saturday night. It was a chance to see JQ Roberts play, and
how did JQ do?
He was good. It was my 6th game of the day, so I think by halftime I was pretty glossed over. But I loved his shots looking smoother. He's putting the ball on the floor with more confidence. He had a nice drive from the wing, maybe even a little lower. I would say I would call it more like the corner, but it's not the dead corner. He drove, beat his man, slipped through the help, and dunked on the rotation guy. And it's as good of a drive you're going to see in a high school game, especially from a 6'8" kid that is developing his perimeter skills. And he was impressive. His shots looking really good, as I said. I think defensively, he's got a chance to be a tremendous high major defender. He may never be a big scorer at the college level, but I think he'll be a guy that can hit open shots and be a tremendous defender. I think that's his floor. And, it's the Booker thing. I know we've talked about him a few times here. I'm not high up the bandwagon on him. I know he's off to a good start. I still want to watch him play and see just what his motor's like. And, if he brings it every, or at least most possessions, because that just hasn't been his thing up to now. And it's, been the one thing that I've been waiting to see. But I know he's having a good year statistically. But the Cathedral's got a lot of weapons, and you can't really put a lot of resources toward one or two kids on that group.
Keegan, you've been out checking out some basketball or not checking them out, but because you've been covering for the Hoosier on Indiana. But any of the recruits that has been sticking out to you
In terms of basketball?
Yep.
I think I know Alex been doing a lot of good stuff on Schifano. Is that how you pronounce it?
Schifano, Jalen Hoods.
Schifano at Montverde.
Schifino.
I think I'm pretty sure he led them to a big win over Oak Hill. He looks really special. And then Shakai Newton's just making a ton of waves in Georgia and kind of taking over that whole team. So I think there's a lot of exciting things going on for Indiana basketball recruits. But I think when I go home this break to Cincinnati, I might go try to watch Gabe Cups at Centerville, try to see what he can do, because I think that's only a 30 or 45-minute drive from where I live. So that's something I kind of want to get into, maybe talk to him a little bit, and just see how he's doing.
I'm interested in seeing him.
You'll love how he plays.
Yeah, he's just a kid that I love. I'm like, man, like his game. I've said this before. He kind of reminds me of a Neil Reed.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
kind of looks like him.
Yeah, it looks like him, and just that scrappy 6'5", shoot, do whatever kind of, and that's a good thing. I mean, he as a player, Neil Reed was a scrappy, tough ass player, and you need that on your team. You need some toughness. I don't know how tough he is. I'm just saying, but
Cups is tough. I think Cups was a better defender at this age than what Reed was. But some of that could be just as simple as lateral quickness, and I don't even know what Reed's schedule was like when he was in Louisiana. I mean, I know if he'd stayed at Bloomington South, he would have definitely had to defend. And sometimes kids are in situations where coaches would rather them take lesser opponents, so that way they don't have to worry about foul trouble at the high school level. It's not always the case, but especially if a kid is a little prone. But I don't know what he was like down when he was at Metairie, down in Louisiana. But Cups is a willing and able defender. I don't know that he'll ever be a lockdown defender, and I don't know that he'll be a good average willing defender at least. Again, that's his floor in the Big Ten for Indiana.
Right now, Indiana started Big Ten play. They had a game against Nebraska. I didn't think it was going to be that easy, because I watched Nebraska take North Carolina State to 4 overtimes on the road, which that's a tough thing to do, man. 4 overtimes on the road, that's battling. So you knew that they were going to the battle coming in, and they did. But Indiana continued doing what they're doing, other than turning the ball over horribly, shooting the ball well. I mean, their 3-point shooting this year is shockingly different than what it has been. But, of course, that's led right now by Patrick Stewart, who is 21 of 43, I think, for 49%.
Parker.
Parker Stewart. Patrick Stewart's Star Trek. And
I keep doing that. I've done that several times. But
he's a little older, a little balder.
and doesn't have the range.
No.
Well, no, he has acting range.
Yeah, maybe acting range.
I don't know if he has shooting range.
But 49% in today's 3-point, that is crazy. With it, I mean, you'd see that back in the day when the 3-point line was at the top of the key, but that's no longer the case. It's moved back. The percentages have gone down. And Indiana as a team is shooting pretty, I think, like 36%. So if they can continue doing that, get rid of the turnovers, they're going to be a tough out every night.
Yeah.
I like their volume this game. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I got to see bits. I got to see a lot of possessions on Synergy, but I didn't get a chance to watch the whole game because I was at Brownsburg most of the day and then Center Grove at night. You look at the volume. We talked about the Syracuse game and how going in, the teams that had given Syracuse fits were making as many threes against Syracuse that Indiana had normally shot. and that volume had to change. I think that volume has to change in general. And then here we are against Nebraska, playing a coach that what's his freaking name? Hoiberg. Crap, the mayor. Hoiberg, who loves the 3-point shot and definitely wants it a big part of his offense. So he's always going to play those percentages. Indiana comes out and matches them in terms of volume and shoots a pretty good percentage at 8 for 22. So as a team, Stewart 3 for 6 that game, Bates 3 for 7. I'm not informed by any stretch. I'm just looking at the box score, but those are good. That's where it has to be. You'd like to see Miller Kopp get more looks, but
he's had a lot of he's had a few games where his shooting percentage is really low. 0-fers and 0 for 5, a 1 for 5 kind of nights, which those are going to come, I understand, but he's had like 3 of them already.
Wait, I don't worry too much about the turnovers. We've posted a little bit about this on the forum. I mean, 15 outside of 2 games where I think those are both outliers, not just in terms of the number of turnovers, but how they came about. Like the one game against Louisiana, they had 24 and only 8 of them were from the starters. And then, of course, Syracuse, they had 26. 13 of them were from just 2 people, Race and Trace.
Yep.
Yeah. This game, I think individually I would worry that Miller Kopp has 4 turnovers because I don't imagine he's putting the ball on the floor a whole lot.
And Trace had 4 more again as well. So he's had 11 turnovers in the last 2 games.
Yeah. But he's at least getting fouled. He's getting fouled. I look at turnovers. I compare it to assists and free throw attempts. And, of course, Trace didn't have any assists last game, but he's getting to the line a little bit. When you're getting fouled, that means you're in traffic. I'm sorry, when you're getting turnovers, hopefully that means you're getting in traffic. But when you look at Trace and how many defenders usually surround him, I don't worry about it too much. I guess if it continues, then it's a problem. But yeah, Miller Kopp having 4, that can't be a good film session for him upcoming.
No. Hey, we got to take a break. We're back with more on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Reamer is joining us. We're talking some hoops, as is Keegan Nickoson from thehoosier.com. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurants.
Whether it's a celebration.
Hey, even if you don't use the presser clips, you may want to at least use the Kitchell clip.
I'm going to use them all.
You don't have to, obviously, though, but I know
this is the last segment, right? Is this the last segment?
Yes, until 10:40.
Using them all.
Holy cow. Kopp goes 0 for 5 with 4 turnovers. That's a rough game.
Look at Race, though. 30 minutes with 0 turnovers after 7 against Syracuse.
Yeah. Hey, that's awesome. There's no other way to say it other than that.
That is, and I wasn't sweating look, you don't want to turn it over 7 times in a game, but when you've got 8 assists, it's clear they were doing a lot of different things, or maybe not different things, but it's clear they were trying to, get a lot of high-low play from Race and Trace back and forth, or either high-low or low-high action against their zone. And and when you just try to continually force that type of movement, it can kind of be easily tracked at the same time. But yeah, I was encouraged by 8 assists way more than I was discouraged by 7 turnovers. So, no turnovers is nice, John. So you're not wrong on that.
I found it interesting that people were like, if we could have cut the turnovers in half against Syracuse, we win that game. And I'm like, in half, if we would have had 3 less turnovers, we probably would have won the game.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it in half.
And that's the problem with watching some of these games, how I watch them, which is I'm just watching possessions. I'm not watching the actual game flow.
Yeah.
I just went in and watched makes and misses. I didn't go in and watch turnovers. So I didn't see Race turn the ball over once against Syracuse.
That's good because it was ugly.
I saw a lot of assists.
Apparently, Miami university down in Florida is planning on taking profits they made from their healthcare over the past year to help pay for Mario Cristobal to come from Oregon.
Yeah.
Miami. That seems a little unethical, if you ask me.
Well, when you're profiting $400 million a year, you can spare a little bit to get a football.
I agree, but it'll probably turn some heads, I'm sure, especially if it doesn't work out.
Who's Mario Cristobal?
The
football coach from Oregon.
Coach. Okay.
I forget you're a basketball only dude, pretty much.
Yeah, there's that.
Like John Rothstein.
Go there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. It is Monday, so just get used to it, baby. Got 5 more days this week. Or 4 more. My bad. 5 days in the week. Mike Woodson, we talked to him after Indiana's win against Nebraska. Talked about using different people, the rotations. And he talked about Anthony Leal prior to that he needed to get more minutes. And as usual, he's true to his word. Anthony Leal comes in, plays at the 3, does some good things. Mike Woodson knows what he's doing. He always does what he says he's going to do. And he's just working. He's like a scientist working in his shop, man. That's what they're doing. Let's hear what he had to say after the Nebraska win.
Because the second unit pushes the first unit. And when we have scrimmages, there's been times the second unit has come away with the win. So, I mean, that's being competitive where they're not succumbing all the time to the first unit. So, and it showed tonight. They got in there and they did what they were supposed to do. And I played them. You know what I mean? I think I played Anthony and a few of those guys 9-10 minutes straight.
That's a lot of confidence, Jim, when you're playing a guy who has not hardly played 9-10 minutes in the Big Ten opening game.
Well, and you put him in a situation too. Hopefully you're putting all these kids in a situation where, regardless of what they're doing and when they're doing it, that they're allowed to do what they're good at. You know, in Leal's case, he needs to be hunting the 3-point line. He needs to be, if there's screening action for him, he needs to come off hard, hands, feet ready to go and getting ready to catch into a shot. Not that he has to shoot it every time he touches it. He only took 1 shot, but he also had 2 assists, you know, and that tells me too he's putting the ball on the floor and not just taking things for granted, or the ball's not sticking with him. And that's going to be something that I think a lot of kids, when they're younger kids, need to understand is hopefully they're in a position where once they get in the game, whether it's for 5 minutes or 20, here's the reason why you're in there. Do that and do it freely. And when it comes time to get you out, we'll get you out, you know, and you don't want kids doing things they're not good at. I think Leo, you know, was pressing early in his career at Indiana, or, you know, last year, you know, but, you know, a lot of that stuff obviously manifests itself in practice, and sometimes it doesn't lead to confidence in games. But in this case, it sounds a lot like he's earned time, and Woody's rewarding him with time.
Absolutely. And Race Thompson, you mentioned him earlier, going from those 6 turnovers, Keegan, to none, but it's still being as active, if not more active. He's working. That shows a guy that is working on things every time. He's paying attention and then working on whatever it was that did not work. He talked after the game and talked about how the defense is really setting up their offense.
I think our strength of the team right now is defense. So I think we just talk to each other about slowing down on offense and then helping our defense, making our defense make plays for us on offense. So I think just stepping up our defense, talking to each other, getting each other going, I think that's really what helped us coming into the second half.
And those guys are working hard. They are really, you can tell, you can see the difference, that they feel like they know what they're doing, that they know where they're supposed to be. And it's such a difference this year, Jim, on how they are affecting games.
Well, I love that Race has upped his rebounding, especially in the defensive end of the floor. He's upped his rebounding on the defensive end of the floor by 75%. He's averaging close to 7 defensive rebounds per game, and he's still putting up 2 offensive rebounds per game. I mean, I'm just now looking that up because I wanted to see what he was rebounding. Overall, he's almost averaging a double-double, and that's Indiana's second best big, and when you look at Trace's production, when your second best big is doing that, and he's also shown that he's a pretty good passer, or at least, certainly a willing passer, and a guy who's shooting 61% inside the arc. And I mean, that's pretty efficient play from him. And I know he talked about the defensive end, that the rebounding is part of that, but I think offensively, Race is extremely improved as well.
Absolutely. Tamar Bates, also a big-time player off the bench for Indiana. Tomorrow we'll have a clip that I'd like to hear from him, but I forget what he was asked. But I think he was talking about missing shots, and he's like, man, I can miss 10 straight threes. I'm going to shoot the 11th. He says, shooters shoot. The confidence he has as a freshman, not cockiness, but it was complete confidence. I got to be honest with you. I haven't seen that in a long time. And he's just confident in his game. And it's great to see that.
Well, he's 9 for 25 from 3, but from 3 this year. You take out the 0 for 4 against Syracuse, which, I mean, you can't do statistically, but I mean, that means the rest of the year, he's 9 for 21. That's a really good percentage, and it's what I said about Leal. Bates understands, whether it's just confidence in himself or maybe they're instilling it in him to continue to think this way. But it's what I said about Leal. Bates knows why he's in the game. He's in the game to be a spark. He's in the game to be a guy who hits shots and a guy who's hunting shots. And, he's averaging what's he averaging? Gosh, let me get here real quick. Shoot. He's averaging 7 points a game, 21 minutes. That's a pretty good number for someone who's coming off the bench. And I'd like to see him do a little bit more rebounding the ball wise. But for a freshman, he's shooting 36% outside the arc. And in limited volume, he's shooting 60% inside the arc. And I think that's a number we didn't see last year. We didn't see those perimeter players being effective, even at low volume, inside the arc. And that's a change this year with some of these guys too.
Absolutely. He did talk about responding to adversity and how that has been. Let's hear what Tamar Bates had to say.
I mean, that's what it's all about to us, really. Just like how we respond to adversity and when we don't play as well as we expect to. So I mean obviously we talked before the game, after the Syracuse game, but we had laser sharp focus coming into it, making sure we provided some kind of spark today.
It was Tamar Bates on that. I had the opportunity, the great honor actually, to do the post-game show with Ted Kitchell, former All-American from Indiana, which was awesome. Those guys, man, they're just so good with how they see the game and how they can explain it. But of course, he's had a lot of experience doing that. He recently filled in on the IU broadcast. But let's hear what Ted had to say on those shooting woes of whatnot.
Yeah, we struggled. There was 8 or 9 times where we had it in layup type range and it kind of bounced off the rim. You would have thought that we would have gotten those in. It is nice to see that he got 4 or 5 from the free throw line. He still had 7 rebounds. But tonight what they did is, when they were man-to-man, they were leaning towards him. So they always had a guy behind him. As soon as the ball went into him, they're double-teaming him. And then they played a lot of zone also, too. And he's got to learn a little bit how to work underneath the zone. You kind of want to work behind the zone and work behind and up through the zone. You don't want to be in front of the zone where they can see you. You want to work behind it, work along the baseline and then pop up. And so it's just a learning curve, and that, Woody will work with him on things like that. But it's going to be difficult. He's not going to have 30-point nights when they play zone, because in the Big Ten, they know how good he is. They know what he's accomplished. They're gonna always watch for that right shoulder. He likes to go left. He's a left-handed guy. He needs to come out every day and practice and continue to work on going left, going right. If I go left 5 times, I need to go right 5 times. I need to catch the ball at the free throw line, shot fake, and drive, because he's got foot quickness that people guarding him can't handle. I mean, he's quicker than the people that are going to guard him, so he needs to catch. You can't just be a postman. I mean, you just can't stand down there on the block and hope to score points. He's going to have to come up to the free throw line, get the ball, shot fake, and then drive to the basket.
There you go. I mean, that's precise. He could probably just go out and start coaching today if he wanted to.
Well, you've got to occupy as much of the defense's focus as you can. And what he's talking about is Trace talking about playing behind the line of the defense, which, a lot of that area of the court now is called kind of like the dunker spot. And there's a lot of teams that do a really good job of playing one of those bigs behind the defense's vision. And as somebody will penetrate, especially the other big, they will circle out on the opposite side and then come around the front of it to be sort of just a moving target. And that's a lot of what Ted Kitchell's talking about. And yeah, he's right about Trace as far as just being willing to go right and being willing to finish this right. But there was some talk of that last year where there were things that he would do in practice really well that just never came out in the game. And a lot of it, sometimes they refer to it in terms of confidence. But then also some of it too is that I think Miller and his staff felt like they needed to continue to feed Trace where he was the strongest, and until he showed a reliance or ability or willingness to go and use other parts of his game. And I think he's getting better at that. But if Kitchell says he still needs to work on it, then Trace needs to listen and continue to work on it.
Absolutely. And Indiana takes on a Wisconsin team on Wednesday on the road that has been their nemesis. They I don't want to say they played well on the road at Syracuse, but the comeback showed that they can get over whatever it was that got them going in a negative direction. But Wisconsin's a little different beast. It's a tough place to play.
Well, you said it has been for Indiana. That's for sure.
Yeah. I wonder if there's any other team that has not beaten them in that span. That would be crazy.
I mean, I'm looking at their page on Sports Reference right now. I don't know if I can. I don't think they have that team log, like game log or team success situation. But I mean, Wisconsin's obviously having a good year, and I'm trying to figure out who they've played. That's what I was hunting.
Well, while we're doing that, I want to quickly talk about Gil Hodges. Went into the Baseball Hall of Fame over the weekend. How in the hell is Gil Hodges not in the Hall of Fame before now? He played on those Dodger teams in the 40s with Pee Wee Reese. He came up. He got called back up. He was with them once and then World War II started, World War II. But he came back to the Cardinals, called up, and at the same year that Jackie Robinson in 47. So he played with Pee Wee Reese and those guys, Roy Campanella, Leo Durocher. His appearance in the 1947 World Series with the Yankees as a pitch hitter. He struck out. But, yeah, he's from Princeton, born in Princeton, Indiana. I'll make sure I have that right because he moved.
You do.
Yeah, born in Princeton and then moved over to Petersburg, where he was a four-sport star athlete, earning a combined 7 varsity letters in football, baseball, basketball, and track. He declined a 1941 contract offer from the Detroit Tigers, instead attending St. Joseph College with the hope of eventually becoming a collegiate coach. He spent 2 years in the 41-42 at St. Joseph's and then signed by his agent off to the Brooklyn Dodgers. That's crazy. I did not realize. I've known his name all my life. I did not know he was from Southwest Indiana.
I knew he was an Indiana guy, but didn't know where.
He did some coursework at Oakland City University down there.
Looks like
his numbers are awesome on, some of the better Brooklyn teams. I mean, he played on teams that won World Series, and trying to think when he was. Looks like he's a 8-time All-Star.
8-time. 1954 is definitely his best season. 42 home runs and a 304 batting average with 140 RBIs. But he's a career 273 hitter. And if you're kind of going to be
that's pretty damn good.
Reese and Jackie Robinson, you're going to have to shine maybe a little bit better than 273 to get in the Hall of Fame, especially.
And it looks like he didn't get a whole lot of respect when he played either. I mean, he was never higher than 8th in MVP voting. Or no, there was a 7th. I'm sorry. There was a 7th. That was the last year they were in Brooklyn, he was 7th, but he never got higher than 7th in the MVP voting. And, a lot of times that's now the MVP voting. That was, it was a much smaller league then too. So,
John,
it was,
we got to get out of here. It's pretty cool.
Darn you, John.
Pretty cool. He was one of the original Mets in the 1961 NFL or in Major League Baseball expansion draft. So he was one of the original Mets, and despite knee problems, was persuaded to continue his playing career up there, hitting his first home run in franchise history. So he hit the first Mets home run by the end of the year, in which he only played 54 games. He ranked 10th in Major League Baseball history with 370 home runs, second only to Jimmy Fox among right-handed hitters. There's a pretty good reason to be in. He also led the National League.
We're over. Let's go.
Record for home runs by a right-hander hitter from the 60 to 63, and held National League record for career grand slams from 1957 until 74. So there you go. Giving Gil Hodges a little love. Hey, man, thanks a lot to Don Fisher. Thanks a lot to Charlie. As always, look forward to having him back on next week. Charlie Miller, of course, Keegan Nickoson from thehoosier.com. Make sure you go there and follow him. And Jim Reamer from Courtside, Indiana. It's been another fun day. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys more importantly, because without you, we've got no reason to be here. John, a producer as well. Thank you. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Keegan, good to meet you, man.